very intense show. We are going to be having a mystery woman. I will refer to her as Madam X. Our mystery woman is going to be called Marlena during the course of the show, and she wants to remain anonymous. She is a victim of severe abuse from a man with whom she became involved in a city in northeast Texas, and this situation has been going on now for some months. And I see that I've got the caller from Central Illinois on the line.
Hi, Rich.
Good evening, Terry. How are you tonight?
Fine.
How's everything in Illinois? How's the weather?
Oh, it was beautiful out today. It was
We're
really
experiencing
nice.
spring here, too. It's very, very nice.
Well, we're kind of in between temps right now. You know, it was up in the, I think about 53, 54, but it's with the sun out, it feels a lot warmer. But
Absolutely.
We're in that kind of the time of the season where it's going to be cold for a while, and then it's going to warm up, and it'll be back and forth. That's just Illinois weather.
Well, next week we're going to welcome Becky Buchko back, and she's going to have lots of interesting things to talk about. I'm looking forward to that. The week after that, Leilani Holland is going to be on, and she's written a couple of books, and she's going to be talking about all of that. Then on April the 30th, I'm going to be having an extra exciting show, too. And there's going to be a number of different guests coming on this month, so I'm looking forward to all of that. For anyone who doesn't know, all of my past shows are archived on www.talkshow.com, and you can go in there under Researcher 135's Community Call, and you can pull up any show from the past year and listen to it. They're all there. They can be downloaded. They can be shared. And I want to encourage anyone who wants to hear a past show to do that. So remember to tune in every week. I have a different guest and a different topic. Each week we'll cover relevant topics and issues, important things that are going on.
I remember Becky Buchko before. Now, refresh my memory on her. Was she the lady that was speaking about Johnstown? Or
Absolutely.
The flood?
Becky has devoted an incredible amount of time to the Johnstown flood of 1889, in which thousands of people were lost. It was a major American tragedy. The only loss of life that compares to it is Pearl Harbor, of course, and 9/11. The Johnstown flood is a major work that she has been pursuing, and she's done enormous research to try to identify a lot of the unidentified victims. She has a Facebook group devoted to the Johnstown flood. And as you know, Becky has written a number of ebooks as well that are available on Amazon, and one of them, of course, is Pandora's Box, which she was on the show a few months ago talking about. And I like Becky. Becky's been a repeat guest. I think Becky's been on about 4 times now. She has also introduced me to a number of other interesting people through Facebook and here on my show as well. Another repeat guest that I love, and she's going to be back in a few months, if not sooner, is Gwendolyn Rose. She's a fantastic lady.
I remember Gwendolyn.
She
does past life regressions, doesn't she?
Yes, she does, and she's terrific, very brilliant woman. And another woman who does past life regressions is Courtney Starkey, who operates some in Hawaii, and she's been my guest twice. And then she's also in Virginia, here in the States, in the continental U.S. She operates there as well. Another wonderful guest from the Seattle, Washington area was Darcy Parisso, who works a lot with animals. She's also a wonderful lady, and it was a pleasure having her on as a guest, and that was a terrific show.
Well, I know I was looking at one of your groups where you had discussed the bear attack at the is it the Laird Springs, the hot springs, and that's a very, very interesting story.
Right. It is, and that's a tragedy, and I'd like to talk about that a moment. That woman was from my neck of the woods, no pun intended, but she was not personally acquainted with her, and that was so unexpected and so apparently random, and it makes you wonder about fate and destiny in the universe. And in fact, I mentioned that particular show, as you'll recall, has also become the subject of a video that I've done, which is available on YouTube and on Vimeo, and you can look it up that way. In search, you Google Liard Hot Springs black bear attack. Now, black bears are not normally predatory, but in that particular area of Canada, the black bears tend to be much more predatory than the ones down here. It may be a genetic thing. They're not really sure. There were a lot of really strange and weird details with that, and that's a show that anyone who hasn't heard definitely wants to go back and hear. It aired in August, either August 15th or 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, of last year, and it's here in the archive at www.talkshoe.com. Researcher 135's community call. That's how you pull up the archive for my episodes.
Yeah, I saw the pictures on that. You had pointed that out to me, and I went in about a week or so ago and looked at the pictures, and it really, it's a beautiful area. The Hot Springs.
Oh yeah, the Hot Springs is a beautiful park.
Areas, and I couldn't really feature, why those people, were there. But then after seeing the pictures, it was a little more obvious that
a lot of tourists go from all over the United States go there. And
yeah, it looks like it's set right in the middle of the woods.
Absolutely. And again, listeners, Liard Hot Springs, you can Google that, and you can go to YouTube and see that, and you can listen to my show here. Well, Terry, it looks as if we have a guest on from Northeast Texas here. Good evening, Northeast Texas.
Good evening.
I understand you would like, during the course of this show, to remain anonymous.
Right.
You'd like for me to refer to you as Marlena?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Tell me, Marlena, how and where did you meet the man who unfortunately victimized you, of whom you became a victim of abuse?
I actually had met a man that he knew at a transitional housing, so like a shelter. And he couldn't have gotten in, that particular man could not have gotten in if he had any kind of domestic violence on his record. So, of course, I think this man is okay. And after we both left there, I was eating somewhere, and it was a place that he frequented himself. And so I offered to take him, to and fro, because it was so hot that summer, which was just last summer. And when I went to go visit him one time, he knew of this. He knew I was looking for a roommate to help cut the cost on bills. And he introduced me to this other man, and that man was smoking meth. So I hadn't had experience with meth in 3.5 years, and it was just one time. And they passed the pipe, and I'm smoking it with him like 10 minutes after I met him. So I was on drugs when I made the decision that, yes, he could be my roommate. He had given me a false last name, which I wouldn't find out until he was living with me. And I had let a man in that I didn't know anything about, had never met before, and knew nothing about. And that was not a good idea.
And if I'm not mistaken, you later learned that he goes by about 3 different aliases.
Right. Morris, Maurice, and Lynn were the last names that he chose.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, at one point he actually held you hostage at a motel in a small northeastern Texas town.
It felt like being held hostage. He had talked me into going to this town literally days before Christmas, so the place was empty of any other guests. And I didn't think about that until really it was too late. And I can't, it's amazing that I can't remember everything that happened. I just remember being in several states of fear as I realized that he had changed into someone that I didn't know. And I because of the mess and because of the things that were happening around me and him appearing to change personalities, For instance, that town was basically deserted because it was the holidays, and we're driving through town. It's a small town, and there was a man sitting on a bench with his guitar.
If I recall, you telling me that he even yanked the phone out of the wall when you tried to dial 911.
Yes. I knew I'd hit a 9 and a 1, and I'd always heard that if you hit 9 and 1, they're coming out. It didn't happen. Nobody came out. The police did not come.
You did somehow successfully escape from there in your vehicle and got to a convenience store, as I recall, and a police officer arrived. Tell us a little about that. How did you make your escape?
We were supposed to be leaving anyway, but he was tied up on his phone. And I had already been put through quite a bit. Like I said, this man that was sitting in the center of town playing his guitar on a bench, and I had made mention of the man. Well, like the next day or so, he says, let's go on over and let's give that guy $1. Lo and behold, it's someone that he knows back in the day from Oklahoma. Well, what were the chances of that? So this man gets his wife, who wasn't there at that moment, to come to our hotel room and smoke meth with us. And it was strange. You know, they didn't have much money to put forth, you know, and then the man arrives the next day, early in the morning, saying that he was going to get $100 worth of meth, that he wanted to get $100 worth of meth. That was very strange.
Marlena, as I understand it, once you allowed this man to move into your house, then he would not leave, and you couldn't get rid of him, and he ended up with your keys and driver's license and all of that.
Yes, the night that I recall, he would never leave my side if he wasn't going to get meth, if meth was not involved. So I was sort of like a prisoner in my own home. And he had really boxed me in by trashing my bathroom. He'd managed to get the water turned off. I had given him the money to pay it, and he didn't pay it. So we were without water. And a bathroom can get pretty bad off when you don't have water.
I understand he would actually take your phone away from you and control your phone and delete your contacts from it, and that he took several phones away from you.
Yes, the first time my contacts disappeared, we were literally sitting in a Walmart parking lot, and we were talking. And for some reason, I checked my phone, and all my contacts were gone except his name, Billy Maurice, Billy Maurice, Billy Maurice, like 10, 11 times. And I took it to the phone company, which is Metro PCS. I don't mind giving them out because I had good service with them for 5.5 years, and now I'm having trouble. And none of the employees would really have anything to do with how this came about and how my contacts could possibly have gotten wiped out and his name put in so many multiple times. My phone would constantly delete contacts, including my children and my sister and anybody else that I knew. And he started fairly early in the relationship telling me he was going to kill me. He said he was going to kill me. He was going to kill anybody I tried to get with. So that makes you feel like to protect other people, you have to stay put, stay with this person. We take this saying for granted, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. I don't think people are masochistic and want to go through something like that. I think that it's a primal way of surviving.
I think if you recall, one of the things that you told me was that his threats included taking you out to the woods, tying you up with cable cord, and putting you in the trunk. Yes,
on 2 separate occasions. The first threat that he ever made to me was, I'm going to drive you out into the woods. He knew I was afraid of woods. He knew that I had a sister that was gang raped at a lake. I had talked so much when I first started doing the mess with him. I had told him way too much about myself. And that would become detrimental to me, and I didn't know. He used everything I said against me.
You had a beautiful, as I recall correctly, a Siberian Husky. He would let that dog out. What would happen with the dog?
Towards the end of the relationship, yes, we had had problems with it. You know, Huskies are escape artists, and we had trouble with the Humane Society. They'd actually let us just come and get the dog and not have to pay anything. And towards the end, he would open the door and let the dog out, because I had gotten to where I would just jump up and just leave, which is probably why he wanted my car impounded. That was a way of controlling me. I see that now. I didn't see it then.
What exactly happened involving your car that you recall?
He would browbeat me until I just gave in and let him do the driving. He had had so many near accidents in my car, I can't believe I let it get that far. I mean, we're talking very frightening experiences. He always liked to go out of town to some neighboring small town. And we were driving along, and as fast as an accident can happen, sometimes you still will record in the fraction of a second, things that you see. He started veering off in the next lane, which was oncoming traffic. And one was a truck and one was a car. He started veering off in a dangerously close. I screamed. He righted my car, and then he went off again and almost hit the second car. What was incredible about this is that neither of those vehicles even tried to get off the road. They did not react at all. And I started
understand thinking, that. Sherry, did you have a question? Go ahead.
No, I just said that's scary, real scary.
It was very frightening, and I was already looped in to trying to protect everyone else, thinking I can't take this guy here, I can't take him there, he's jealous of everybody. I don't think he was jealous. I think he was just flat out controlling. I knew he wasn't in love with me. I told him he wasn't in love with me because I've had men love me, and I know how they act when they're in love, and he was not in love.
You studied psychology.
Nuts.
Yeah. Do you think, Marlena, that you could be a victim of Stockholm Syndrome when you look and analyze the psychological aspects of this?
Refresh my mind about the question.
Do you feel that you began to cooperate with your oppressor in the same way that Patty Hearst, when she was kidnapped by the Symbionese Liberation Army, you began to cooperate with the oppressor? He had things that you needed. How did he control you?
Well, he had made my home to where, the bathroom wasn't usable, even when the water got turned back on. He had managed to keep me in this one room. And all I could think is that the meth, by then I was somewhat psychologically dependent on the meth. Food, he could always get good food. Cigarettes, which I was already a smoker. And I cannot deny the sex and companionship. He was a very good lover, to the point to where he could control me over the sex in a lot of ways. He did not, on the times that he raped me, sometimes it was consensual. And he would whisper things in my ear that disgusted me and made me angry, and then, of course, he would force me to continue.
You were raped multiple times, as I understand it.
Yes. I was raped quite a few times. On December 17th, this past December, he raped me 2 times in one day. He raped me in the morning and in the evening. And that evening was the time that he said that he would like to tie me up with cable and put me in the trunk of his car. It was not his car, it was my car.
Now, when you did successfully escape in your car in Clarksville, you somehow left the car there at a convenience store, but you made it to the hospital in another nearby city. And didn't you make a police report about the rape there in the emergency room?
Yes, I think I did. I was shaking. I was very upset. They said, "Do you want to talk to a police officer?" And I couldn't really look anybody in the eye. I was looking down at my hands, and I just shook my head slowly. And, of course, they sent a police officer in to talk to me anyway.